Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. Back during the Christmas period, some of you will have seen I started playing around with some self-adhesive silk screens and I kind of fell in love and ordered a ton more. Well, this was one of those that I ordered from Amazon. It is from Ollycraft. It comes in a 2-pack, again from Amazon, all linked below on my Amazon storefront. I have a whole section now for silk screens. And of course it's Valentines. So these are all the lovely, heart, beautiful. One side has the paw print, which I just thought was adorable. I didn't even clock that when I ordered it. The other half is kind of like a polka dot stroke stripy heart print. But big shout out and thank you to my coffee supporters and my patrons, because it was your support that helped me buy all of the silk screens for all of the things. So thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate it. I am going to be using a Jesmonite AC100 in this video, but of course you can do this with absolutely any eco pour. I have not yet tried silk screens with epoxy resin. That is definitely something I want to try. So many of you have asked me if it works, and it is on my list and it is coming soon. We're going to try it whether it succeeds or fails so that we can all learn together. Now, back to the Jesmonite AC100. This is an eco pour. If you are new to my channel, hello. This is a Jesmonite AC100. It is an acrylic based, water based eco pour, and it's biodegradable eco. And I'm just mixing it up. It is a ratio of 1 to 2.5. I really wasn't sure how much I'd need. It's been a while since I've used these coasters. These coasters, by the way, are the diamond cut edge silicone coasters. They are from Amazon as well. I've had them a few years now and they've lasted real gorgeous, but the edges are what draws me back to them. They are stunning diamond cut edges. The colour I am using here is the Red Ruby from Homeware Design Co. One drop, guys. One single drop of this pigment. Unreal. I've got the exact pink I wanted. Of course, the more you add, the more you'll get back to that ruby red, which is what it's for. But if you want a pale pink, one drop was enough. Now, it was at this point during pouring I realized very much not enough. Like, I made nowhere near enough for both coasters. So after a little bit of a tippity tap, I quickly made some up off camera in the same bowl with all of that wet Jesmonite still in there. So you can do that if you work fast. You still have the luxury of time if you work super fast. So this was all done within a 5-minute period and it worked really well. And then I just added another couple drops of that ruby pigment to give me a darker pink. And of course I made too much the second time around. I made way too much. So always have another mould on hand and you can pour it into that mould as well. I just made another coaster off camera because it was just easier to do it that way. And another tippity tap. This was 30 minutes later and it was time to demold. The edges of these coasters, they're just gorgeous. I absolutely love them. These are 2 moulds that I think I bought back around I want to say 3-4 years ago when I first started resin, and I still have them, so they're amazing. The edges is everything to me, but yeah, they came out perfectly. And I also did sieve my powder, so I've got no clumps in there. This is what they're looking like. I left them overnight for 24 hours to fully dry out on my cake baking rack, which I don't use for cakes. I just use it to dry out my Jesmonite. I'm going to be using a combination of the PBO acrylic paint with my silk screens on these. Now, again, whatever colour you use is entirely up to you. So just use something that's going to complement your background colour. I did find my squeegee. If you remember that video, I said I'd lost it and I just couldn't find it at all. But I found it now because I had a bit of a clear up. I'm just cutting these in half for ease of use. And that's just gonna, make everything a little bit more easy, really. Peeling them off is pretty simple. If you've not used these before, they are self-adhesive. They just simply stick to your surface. Now, this is why it's very important to make sure that your eco is fully dried. That is why I've left them a solid 24 hours to make sure there's no more moisture in there. That is going to ensure that my silk screen sticks, like totally and utterly sticks. Once you've placed down your silk screen, make sure that you give it a firm rub all over to make sure that every millimeter is fully adhered to that surface, and you should be good to go. There shouldn't be any leakages or seepages in and underneath, and give you a nice crisp clean finish. As you can see, the one on the right has got the miniature hearts, the one on the left has got the paw print hearts, and I was just in love with them at this point. Now, when it came to colour, my initial instinct was to try red on both because I just felt like red would be the most contrasting colour against those pinks. But I decided to get fancy schmancy and a little bit too ambitious and use, or at least try to use and create an ombre. So the one on the right, I used a combination of the white and red. I figured it would give me a nice ombre-ish effect on the darker pink Jesmonite. And using my silicone scraper, just making sure that I smush it down and get it into all of those areas on the silk screen that's going to give me my pattern. Now, because the silk screens are kind of hanging off of the edge of these coasters, I was worried that the paint would simply drip down the silk screen and just pour through and onto the edges of my coaster. That didn't happen. Pleasantly surprised that that didn't happen. So yeah, this is just a little note. If you're thinking of doing anything like this, it did not happen. It stayed firmly on the coaster, and I don't have paint dripping down the sides of my coaster, which is what I was worried about. As soon as I pulled back this silk screen, let me tell you, I just didn't like it. It wasn't good enough for me. I couldn't even see half of the hearts. By mixing the red and white, I'd basically made a pink. And quite honestly, it was just too meh. Almost lost it because it was similar colour to the background. I immediately wiped it off with a wet wipe, leaving marks behind unfortunately, but I sat it to one side to dry out while I worked on this one. And it was then that I decided to stick with my original idea and just use the red. Red against pink are two of the most beautifully contrasting colours. I knew this would work this time around. So it was the same thing again, a few drops of the paint. A little goes a long way when you are doing this with your scraping tool. So don't put too much paint on, otherwise you will have absolutely tons to get back in the bottle, if there's enough to get back in the bottle. It was a bit tricky with this one, there wasn't so much, but the one where I mixed the colours, sadly I really couldn't get that back in any bottle because I'd mixed up colours. Bit of a waste, but here we are. I fully love this one. The contrast was a wow. This was what I was looking for, that real bold red against the pink, and it came out a dream. What do you think? Let me know. I can definitely see a couple of areas where I smushed it. Maybe I didn't press the silk screen down as much as I want to or needed to. So there's definitely a couple of areas there that it looks like it leaked, but that will definitely be human error where I simply did not push that silk screen down enough. So despite the fact that my first messed up coaster has still got lingering marks left over from the paint, I decided to just go in with the red in the hopes that it would fully disguise that dodgy background. And it really did. It's not too bad at all, I have to say. Another real, using the paint sparingly, scrape across the surface, and then it was time to peel this one back as well. Just hope that that background mess up isn't going to completely ruin my coaster. But yeah, super fun to use. Really easy to use this silicone tool as well. Fully recommend getting yourself one of those if you have not. It really makes sure that the paint gets down in. And this was the result of the first one that I messed up, but the second coaster. I absolutely love it. I am making a conscious effort to not use the word absolutely every 2 seconds in my videos. Trust me, I am using a conscious effort trying not to do that, but this is what they're looking like. They look really, really cool. The silk screens have worked great. The paint is on there really nicely. It is a little bit lighter in some areas than others, but that's okay. Handmade means nothing is necessarily ever going to be perfect, but the contrast is just a wow. Now, I left them overnight. Here's the thing. Do you remember the resin creep video I made where I said the Jesmonite sealer doesn't work with acrylic paint on that resin creep, but I was sure it worked on Jesmonite? Well, then it dawned on me that I hadn't actually tried it on Jesmonite. I'd only tried the wax on Jesmonite and the acrylic paint pens from Let's Resin. It was the acrylic paint pens from Let's Resin that handled this sealer like a pro. And I think that's where I was getting mixed up in my memory, because as soon as I put the Jesmonite acrylic sealer down on top of the acrylic paint, it was smudge city central. It was literally all aboard for smudge. It went crazy. My sponge was soaked in the red acrylic paint. So I immediately stopped and figured I will revert back to the trusted method of using the wax. So I now know that using Jesmonite acrylic sealer on Resincrete and Jesmonite smudges acrylic paint. However, wax does not. So I've gone back to use the wax. This is the wax from Homeware Design Co. Works a dream. Unfortunately, on this coaster, you can still see that background, that initial background that I messed up, but I don't think it takes away from it. I think it adds depth. It adds something. It adds a little something. It definitely does not destroy it. And this one here that got smudged, poor thing, the life got smudged out of it by the acrylic sealer. I'm just going over it with the wax, and again I wiped all the acrylic sealer off as much as I could, and there's nothing coming off at this point. There's probably not much left on there, but yeah, I really love them both. I love the contrast of the pink and the red. Let me know if you guys have gotten hold of any self-adhesive silk screens since watching my videos and what you've made and how it's working for you. But I absolutely, oh, there's the word again, Claire, find another word. I totally and utterly love these. There you go. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video, which is exciting. Bye.